interrupt the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steampunk Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Just finishing up my Blue Sky post here. I got a little into my jam there, and so I just need to do this and this. And sorry for the delay. Here I am. Welcome to another episode of The Punch Show. Hope you're doing well today. I hope I see Harry today. I hope Harry's doing okay. He kind of just dropped out the other day, and I don't know what happened. Anyway, is that Harry in there? We'll see. So anyway, I was looking at the news today, and apparently the sarsaparilla or whatever it's called outbreak, the thing that's giving everybody the trots, and news that you just cannot make up is coming from Taco Bell. Taco Bell gives you the trots. Who'd ever seen that coming? Never thought that Taco Bell would give you the trots. And that is not even the least surprising news of the day. Because the least surprising news of the day is that Donald Trump said some fibs last night during his address. I heard one person even describe it as the most embarrassing presidential speech in American history. A national speech in American history, which, to be fair, only goes back about 100 years. So there might have been more embarrassing speeches before that. But, they didn't have the capacity to broadcast that embarrassment to the entire nation. So we'll never know. But in terms of since television was invented, this was a doozy. Hi, Brett. How you doing? Just so you know up front, before I forget, I made Dusty and Walter mods just now. So you'll get a little help. Walter doesn't know he's a mod yet, but he seems to be pretty consistent. So I've seen 4 elderly people at the busiest intersection in downtown of my city. They were holding big signs that said, "Ice out, yes, MAGA." They were white. All cars were honking in solidarity. I think this is becoming people are this is becoming an issue. One of the issues, I think there are several issues which are starting to peel away some of the hardcore MAGAs. I think that it was one thing when ICE was killing illegal immigrants or protesters, but now these last 2 killings have just been people that were just driving their cars around. They weren't even the right people. They weren't even the targets. And I think that's woken some people up to what we were saying all along. They can do it to illegal immigrants. They can do it to anybody. Because who's to say who's an illegal immigrant? If they kill you first and ask questions later, you're already dead. I don't know if you saw the guy up in Maine. His wife spoke today, and it was just heart-wrenching. Heart-wrenching. You could just see her pain. And I think that's a lot of the swing voters. And she's trying to back away from it, but she voted to confirm Mark Wayne Mullen. So it's kind of hard for her to now say, "Oh, I didn't, I tried to tell him not to do it." It's like, yeah. Her favorite words are coulda, shoulda, woulda. And her most favorite word is concerned. She's always concerned first, and then she says coulda, shoulda, woulda after. If MAGA is so worried about foreign influence, they need look no further than Israel, who literally brought the presidency and played the race card to defend it. Embarrassing. There is a valid point there. I always never know quite how to handle the whole Israel thing, because it's like, you don't want to come across as being anti-Semitic, but I always want to distinguish between three things, right? There's Israel, the nation, there's the Netanyahu government, and there's the Jewish people. I have no problem with Israel being a country. I think I am in favor of a two-state solution. I have certainly no problem with the Jewish people. My brother is Jewish. My literal brother from another mother is Jewish. And he and his whole family and his mom are wonderful people. And but I know that I'm not saying they're, some of my best friends are Jewish kind of thing. I'm just saying that they're also Democrats, they're also liberals, but they have also felt assaulted. Like some of the people I know who are Jewish and who are actually on the pro-Gaza side have felt attacked by a lot of the comments, a lot of the rhetoric. And so I always feel like I'm not saying, I don't think you're going that way, Brett, but like, and just for people that don't know me, I am pro-Israel, but I am anti-Bibi Netanyahu. I'm anti-genocide, and I'm, all of that. But I think that there's a middle ground there. Hey, Walter, who's running against Susan Collins? I don't think we know yet. I think that gets determined like Saturday or something. Walter, you do not know this yet, but congratulations. Because yesterday we were getting spammed with trolls. I made you and Dusty moderators yesterday. So you, from your history here, you seem like a decent guy, and you seem like you would use the power responsibly. So anyway, you're a moderator. So if you want to help out Brett, that's especially if things get, if we get spammed again, because it tends to happen. So far, like a dozen people, I guess, a dozen people. I'm sorry, a dozen people what? I think the people of Israel have the same complication. Every nation has a right to defend itself. The need for payback is understood, but the free pass has run its course. Right. I think we're well past the place where it's just, a reaction to October 7th. October 7th was horrible. October 7th was not the beginning. I think a lot of people overlook the conditions in Gaza for the last 40 years that led to this, and I think I read that the year prior, the year prior to October 7th was actually the year where there were the most fatalities in Gaza by the IDF. So it's not like it came out of the blue that all of a sudden Hamas was just, sitting there and they were living high on the hog and everybody was having a wonderful time, and then out of the blue they just decided to go out and murder a bunch of Jewish people. I'm not saying that that anything they do is vindicated. I'm just saying that it wasn't in isolation, and you have to look at the whole thing. You can't just look at, that is the beginning of it. And now 3 million Palestinians have been removed from their homes. And that seems like a bit of an overreaction, to put it mildly. Let me ask chat something here. I'm wondering how many people have been killed in either Gaza or Lebanon. So since October 25, there's been over 1,100 Palestinians killed, which doesn't seem very ceasefire to me. Ceasefire means like ceasing fire, and that's not even counting what's going on with Lebanon. So, I feel like that we just need to have some balance when we look at this, and be able to say, yes, Israel has a right to exist, but the Palestinian children also have a right to like live and not be starved to death and have health care and have homes and have roofs over their head. Like, it doesn't have to be a choice between the two, is all I'm saying. And it's not their fault. Hamas is not their fault. Like, you see these people there, well, they should have thought about that before they voted, Hamas. Like, a lot of them, their parents weren't even alive yet when Hamas was elected. Like, more than half of the country is under the age of 18. It's not like Hamas is the currently elected people in power. They were elected in 2008 with the plurality of the votes. So I just did some basic math on this, and it's like 5% of the people that are currently living in Gaza ever voted for Hamas. Statistically, I mean, estimated. The White House evidence files only revealed that Russia, China tried to interfere against Biden. They actually kind of didn't. They redacted the Russian part. China tried to interfere against Biden. It's amazing. They make themselves look stupid hourly. Now the White House website files are suddenly available. Somewhat available. The parts that they want you to see are available. They redacted the parts about Russia. If you go to the White House site, and you look at them, and it's not like we didn't know already that China was trying to interfere. It was, you actually don't even see a lot of Republicans coming out and writing on this one, especially ones that have elections to deal with. Nobody wants to back them on this. Fox News even said, we can't independently verify these reports. So I wanted to go through and just kind of look at some of these, some of the claims. So I'll get back to that in a second. Just want to read through some of the comments first, and then we'll come back and we'll touch on Trump's whole speech. Today's show is going to be almost entirely talking about Trump's speech and the issues with it. Walter says, cool, because Walter's mod now. Everybody say congratulations, Walter. Love the pun show, giving it to trumpets with honesty. Thank you. Dare? Is it Dare or Dare? Trump called it hacking. Yes. This is one of the things that's ridiculous. Like, to tell you, to put in perspective how dishonest he was about all of this, is he called this hacking. He talked about the hacking of the election, right? And he pointed out that there were some election results changed and manipulated by Maduro. And it's true. It's true. Maduro manipulated some voting machines in an election in Argentina or Venezuela or whatever it was. Venezuela, I'm sorry. In Venezuela. It wasn't, he didn't touch the votes over here. They even asked the guy in charge of the integrity, the guy that's currently in charge. And he said he wasn't aware of any evidence that any votes were manipulated here in America. So that was one of the in Venezuela. Trump tried to use that Maduro manipulated votes in Venezuela to prove that the election in America in 2020 was stolen. The man is unhinged. Unhinged. Remember the old Bill Cosby commercials? The proof is in the pudding. Well, the pudding is in Donald Trump's skull. And so there's no proof. There's no proof in that pudding. The pudding is the proof that there is no proof. The site was slowed down this morning after they realized their blunder. Oh, the site. Oh, they had to take everything down. It's sometimes I go through this mental exercise because on the one hand, they're like so dishonest. And I say the dishonesty has to be the worst thing about this administration. But then I think about it and I see how incompetent they are. And I'm like, their incompetence is even worse than their dishonesty. But then I think about it and I say, well, their incompetence is the only thing protecting us from their dishonesty. So in a way, their incompetence might be a good thing. Like we know what was actually in those reports in the redacted part because of the incompetence. The incompetence actually exposed the dishonesty. So, score one for reality. Trump is turning into Captain Ahab. He just keeps chasing that white whale. He's so badly wants to prove what didn't happen. Plus, they released those files lickety split. Didn't take him long to release those files, right? You got the Captain Goon, whatever his name is, the one fake DSI guy. And he just, carefully selected which misleading files to use. I know not everybody understands how intelligence works, all right? And so I'm just going to brag up my dad, who was a Foreign Service officer. He's a retired diplomat, and for a while he worked in the intelligence office in Miami. And this was back in the 90s, so I don't think I'm exposing anything. Not in the 90s, in the 2000s. Colin Powell was Secretary of State. And he would, what would happen is intelligence people all over South America would send their intelligence stuff to different people. And then those people would, review it for accuracy and importance and decide what should be passed up and what wasn't worth passing up. And then there's thousands of bits of intelligence that get passed to them, and so then they vet that intelligence and determine what goes up. And then so that would go up to like a central person for each country. Then my dad would review the ones for all of South America, and then he would review everything that would go to like his boss, and then his boss's boss was Colin Powell. And so, he'd review everything from South America and hand it up to his boss. His boss would look at everything from around the world and decide what went to Colin Powell. Then Colin Powell would decide what went into the PDR. Because you can't put all the intelligence that everybody in the world gathers in the PDR. PDR is supposed to be like a condensed, the most important stuff. So you don't just put stuff in the presidential daily briefing that doesn't matter. And I find it interesting that he used, he even used the presidential daily briefing to prove that they weren't telling him this stuff in the presidential daily briefing by showing what was said in the presidential daily briefing. How unhinged is this man? Last night's speech was as much of an excuse as an argument as you need for the 25th Amendment. That man is not cogent in any way. You can talk about Joe Biden all you want, but even if Joe Biden was senile, I don't think he was, but he wasn't insane. Donald Trump is like the marbles are not in the skull. He is gone. He is, bat poop crazy. It's Joe Biden is the only thing living in his head. And maybe Barack Obama. Fact. The fact was not for what I just said. The fact was up there for a while. Yep, unhinged. Trump was president. And yes, he was president in the year of our Lord 2020. Not Joe Biden. I know this is something that MAGA has a real struggle with. Like when they talk about mask mandates and when they talk about the shutdown and when they talk about the 2020 election being stolen, it was Donald Trump who was president when all that happened, not Joe Biden. So this is another thing, Brett brings it up. He failed to stop China and Russia interference. LMAO probably just pissed he paid Russia and China money for rigging and it went the opposite direction. So, and this is so funny because first of all, 2016, Russia really did interfere and he's been running around for 10 years going Russia, Russia, Russia. And last night's speech was China, China, China. There's some like the GOP has decided to make China the boogeyman, right? You notice that? China's buying up our farmland. China's rigging the election. China manufactured the COVID virus. The trade war with China. Everything is China, 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 including, the MAGA hats that are like made in China. There's just so much nonsense about China that comes out of there. They want to make China the boogeyman. All that last night's speech was China, China, China. Except that Russia actually did interfere and Trump actually did participate with their interference. And then I want to say, I may be wrong, so don't quote me, but if I recall correctly, there were 72 unique meetings between members of the Trump cabinet and people from Russia leading up to the 2020 or the 2016 election. Not the Trump cabinet, the Trump campaign. It was just, they were complicit. They literally met with Russia to get copies of the Hillary Clinton emails. And after they met with them, they got copies of Hillary Clinton's emails. Not Hillary Clinton's emails so much, but the DNC hack, which was funded by Russia. And then, they got, what's his name? WikiLeaks to participate. But none of that is, like, all of that has been proven, verified by Republicans. Russia happened. What China did, the big thing that China did, the big scary thing that China did according to Trump is they got this voter information. They got voter information that you can buy online. You can get it. I can get it. Anybody can get it. It can be easily sold. There's not like private details in that. But China's big crime was apparently participating in capitalism and buying something. It's not like they met with the Biden campaign and just said, hey, we can give you some dirt on the opponent if you're willing to like remove sanctions on us. How to get a visa of America. In India, we have stupid politicians like Modi deliberately diverting whole wealth of nation towards the Ambani and Andani. Corruption is totally organized in India. Well, if Trump has his way, you just have to pay for one. I think they only cost like $1 million. A sign of dishonesty. Notice almost no one from the first administration, with the exception of Linda McMahon, has anything to do with the guy today. It is really scary. And look at how many people from his first administration have gone to jail. Look at how many people from his business have gone to jail. Like, he is more, he's associated with more felons than most people in prison. Like, so many people that are just disbarred, in prison or whatever for having like dealt with that guy. J.D. Vance is well on his way to becoming the next Mike Pence. Oh, J.D. Vance is, the man went to Yale. He can't be dumb. But man, is he dumb. He gives Unhinged a bad name. He does. It's like the man, like I wish, like Unhinged doesn't even do credit. If I wanted to make an argument for the 25th Amendment, this is what I would do. I would just sit somebody down and I would hit play and I would play the last speech. I would play last night's speech. And then that I wouldn't have to say a word. That thing was unhinged off. Just nuts. I haven't heard any Republican senators come out and say anything. Then it's like he wraps it up with saying, this is why we need to pass the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act wouldn't have prevented any of the stuff he was talking about. And that's one of the ways he's full of crap. Because he didn't propose one way of stopping China. Everything he's done in office actually makes it easier for China to do the things that they want to do. He wants China to involve itself with our elections. Because then he complains that China did, and then he can say that the elections aren't valid. Because he knows he's going to get trumped. For lack of a better word, I'll borrow the original meaning of the word. He's done. His goose is cooked. He's going to be the thrice impeached president. He threw his own people under the bus to the point where they had to release statements. Yeah, there's no way that there was no way that the SAVE Act was going to be passed. Now there's even less way. Has anyone caught the story? Oh, the teleprompter guy. And this is kind of funny, and it's kind of not funny, and then it's kind of funny again. The teleprompter guy was betting on, on these like khaki or whatever. These betting things that aren't betting things. There was like, you could buy futures on what Trump would say in his speeches. And the teleprompter guy, for obvious reasons, had a pretty good idea of what Trump was going to say in his speeches. And so he was betting on these, on this, I forget what it's called, Cali market or whatever. And he made like $100,000, which I guess the guy gets paid $200,000 a year. I don't know, maybe it's danger pay after the one teleprompter took a bullet for Donald Trump. Anyway, not the teleprompter guy, the teleprompter. So he made like $100,000 betting on what Trump was going to say. And so you're like, And then, so the Trump administration is like trying to distance themselves from the guy. Well, he's on paid leave. Oh, so you're paying him and giving him a vacation. You're so upset with him. But the culture of the administration, that says a lot about the culture there, right? Everybody's doing it. Why not me? Like, everybody's just swimming around in corruption. This is the swampiest swamp in the history of swamps. Donald Trump is the swamp monster. He's the creature from the Black Lagoon. Nobody has ever been as swampy as Donald Trump. He's the swamp monster. Trump is awesome. Okay. He's like all the he's like all the Republicans stealing and pointing at the Democrats. Yes. China, because China is controlling you liberal idiots with social media. Okay. Do you remember how all these conservative podcasts were getting paid all these millions of dollars by Russia? Do you remember that story last year? Like people like Tim Pool that were just Ben Shapiro. Their sponsors were all Russia. But yeah, let's talk about how China is controlling me. I have no idea. I don't actually have any contact with China or anybody from China. I have no idea how China is controlling me. But you be you, remixed AI. I'm pretty sure that China controls a lot of AI. We're bringing, and this is one of the things. I've been thinking about this. Donald Trump's always been trapped in the 80s. And when you have Alzheimer's, one of the things is like you start to fuse your timelines all together, or, like your times all together. And it's just, he seems more entrenched in the 80s lately. And in the 80s, if you weren't around in the 80s, I grew up in the 80s. Japan was like the enemy, It was Japan, like Russia was the enemy and Japan was the enemy. Not Russia, but the USSR, Cold War. But Japan was the other one because Japan was taking over the auto industry and they were selling, their Japanese cars, their Hondas and whatnot. And that was a big thing. And, and there would be like these movies where, like people in Japan work 120 hours a week. And there was like a lot of anti-union kind of imagery behind that, like Japan was catching us because they didn't have to worry about those troublesome auto unions. And so if we want to keep up with Japan, we better get rid of the unions and, all of that kind of stuff. So when Donald Trump was talking about the Islamic Republic of Japan, I couldn't help wonder, like, why did he say Japan? And not like anybody's ever going to confuse Japan with Islamic, but like, where did Japan come from? And I can't help but wonder if that's just goes back to that whole old Alzheimer's pudding brain of his. Is he going back to the 80s and thinking of Japan as like the enemy again? National media controlled by conservative idiots. Dusty, since you are on now, first of all, hello, and I made you and Walter mods yesterday. So if you need to, if Brett needs help, you can help him. He was getting really swamped yesterday. He was getting more swamped than Washington, D.C. Cambridge Analytica. Thank you, Mo. That's a great example. That was 100%. Like everything that Trump was accusing China of doing last night is what Russia did in 2016. And he has done lick about it. He does not He doesn't care. He hasn't done anything about it in China. He's actually made it more easy for China to do what he is accusing them of doing by firing people and getting rid of people and getting rid of jobs and departments and stuff like that. Right now, the whole election apparatus is less secure than it's ever been. Hey, goofball, goof. Is that supposed to be goofball? Cos Morena, how you doing? In America, we have illegals voting and a communist running New York. No, we don't have illegals voting, and we don't have a communist running New York. That was easy to break down. China couldn't buy what is, but here, let's talk about this for a second, because Greek lovin' over there seems to be buying into some of Trump's nonsense. So one of the things that Trump mentioned yesterday was that there are about 280,000 undocumented or non-citizens that are registered to vote. And he gave nothing to back this up. So, I can't look at that data and say that it's verified or not verified. Even Fox News said that they couldn't verify this, right? But I do live in the great state of Texas, and I have seen this game played before. Ken Paxton, the man who committed voter fraud, came out and said that they had found 95,000 non-citizens in the state of Texas that are potential non-citizens that are registered to vote. And that was the headline number, 95,000 in Texas. And what happened is nothing. They have not prosecuted a single person. There are some false flags in this. And one of the main false flags is people that are I think the largest one is just name errors. Like people have the same name, like Juan Ramirez. There's two Juan Ramirez's born on the same day. There's like similar or same names with similar birth dates, and so they get flagged as being the same person, but they're actually different people. And the one that's registered to vote is an actual citizen that just happens to have the same name as an immigrant. That's one of the main cases that ends up happening. When you're talking about, out of millions and millions of people, some people are going to have the same name. It's not that rare. That's one of the main things. The other thing that happens a lot is people will be non-citizens that are in the process of naturalizing, and so they became citizens and registered to vote, but the polling, the information that the database has is from before they became citizens. So they're actually citizens when they registered to vote. They just weren't citizens when the information that they're looking at it against what was compiled. So that, that's the way the space-time continuum works. People become citizens, and so there was a time when they weren't citizens, and there's a time when they are citizens. And so you say, okay, how many of these, 90,000 were wrong? Were the potential non-citizens who were registered to vote, how many of them actually ended up being prosecuted for registering illegally? And we're talking about Ken Paxton here, whose entire campaign in life is based on the fact that he goes after the illegals who are voting illegally. And unless it's, of course, him. And not one person has been prosecuted. So it kind of makes you think maybe that 90,000 was actually zero. Nobody. None of them. So when I see a list of 280,000, if you get 0 out of 95,000, the potential to see 0 out of 280,000 does not seem that hard. It's just the list is bogus. The way it's compiled and the way that it's not like, like you might think on the top of your head, well, some of them must be, but none of them were in Texas. Not one prosecution. So these 280,000 potential non-citizens, potential is doing an awful lot of non-work, an awful lot of work there. None of them are actually voting illegally. And that's the other part of it. Just because you're on the polls, just because you're registered, doesn't mean you vote. Nah, he's quite done. Donald Trump is done. You're not going to get an argument from me. Trump went to India. Almost the whole stadium walked out on his nonsense in 2018. I don't think, people don't realize, like the MAGAs, they don't realize just how deeply unpopular Trump is around the world. Moo! How's it going, Solera? Don't have a cow, man. Trump stroke out already. 200,000 illegals voted in just 4 states. No, they didn't. And 400,000 dead people on voter rolls in 23 states. Laughy face. I don't think you're not being serious, right? How long till we see Pete Hegseth late night TV commercials for male supplements? Oh, he's going to be selling testosterone. Did you see his testosterone speech? What is it with MAGAs and this testosterone obsession? I don't understand it. Their whole, like masculinity thing is just so weird. It's so weird. I don't get it. Like Tim Waltz was right. They're weird. They're a very, very weird group of people. Yeah, and Joe Biden was your president. So what? Doesn't mean I have to agree with him. Has a moron hell ever? He's a moron. Hell, even Nixon didn't get impeached twice, and Trump could get impeached a third time. The only reason he was impeached twice is that the Senate didn't have the courage to convict him the first time, and the only reason he's going to get impeached a third time is that the Republican Senate didn't have the courage to impeach him, to convict him the second time. The actual reasons he was impeached were impeachable, and he actually did those things. He really did try to extort Zelensky into investigating Hunter Biden. That's election interference. They talk about election integrity, and then they have the audacity to say that that's not a big deal. It's like election integrity, it's either a slogan or it's a reality. And if it's a reality, you need to have integrity about elections yourself. And all the ones that voted to acquit him in both impeachments were about elections. And in both impeachment trials, they didn't have the courage. They didn't have the integrity to vote according to reality. They knew that he did that. And they knew it was impeachable. And they still voted to acquit. No way Pakistan and Israel and India having nukes and not Iran. Well, Pakistan and Israel and India have nukes and not Iran. And Iran doesn't have nukes. I love the smell of impeachment in the morning. That speech was embarrassing. He read it like a child. that was preoccupied with a video game on the side. It's like there's this weird thing about him where it's like a little kid giving a speech that he's fantasizing about giving this speech and having this reaction where like the crowds cheer like he's in a movie or something, and everybody's going wild and everybody's so inspired, and everybody's like, what the fornication are you talking about? Like he has no connection to reality at all anymore. The storm is here. Are you ready for some reality checks? Okay. Sure. It was a stunt. He's mad because of his SAVE Act. Trump is having a sissy fit. Right. And again, the SAVE Act would not have stopped a single thing he complained about. SAVE Act in a rigged system. Huge deal. I'm not sorry. I don't know what you mean by in a rigged system. The swamp monster at least handled women gently. This is true. The swamp monster was never convicted, was never found liable for sexual assault. Is this your wife Kelly's channel? No, I'm Kelly. This is my channel. I believe the only reason teleprompter guy got snagged, Kalshi, that's what it's called, betting, is because Don Jr. lost money when he wins. This whole thing about the what was it? You know, Brett, the Trump brothers invested a bunch of money in some business right before Daddy Trump arranged for the U.S. government to give them a contract, and then like their stock shot up or something. I mean, they talk about the Biden crime family. And it's like there's no evidence of it. There was not. Nobody ever got charged with anything, prosecuted with anything. They couldn't even come out and specifically say anything that anybody did. They would just lay out breadcrumbs and say it's obvious. But they couldn't actually walk you through the actual crime. It's like saying this bank was robbed and these people were in the bank, therefore these people robbed the bank. They were hostages. You know, I mean, Don Jr. is a major player with Kalshi. That's his. Trump is the Homelander, except that Homelander is smarter than Trump. And Homelander actually had like actual power. And I don't know. I think I think a lot of the Homelander character is based on, I would say Homelander is how Trump sees himself. Trump thinks he's Homelander. Homelander might even be how MAGA sees Trump, you know, with all the superpowers and the buff muscles and all that. By the way, if you haven't watched it, The Boys, Homelander is a reference to The Boys, which is at times the most disturbing show in the history of TV. Only the mind of Seth Rogen could have come up with some of the images in that. And then there's a spin-off called Gen V. It's really good. Good show, but do not watch this show with your children. This is not meant for children. Do not watch it in public. There are scenes that you do not want your children to see. I will tell you that much. Trump is the Epstein class lab rat. Every time I see something about China, it seems like they are moving into the future and we can't keep up. China is doing a lot of things really, really well. And I wish we could like learn from what they are doing. Their EVs, they're way ahead of us. They're way ahead of us in terms of green energy. I know they still burn more oil than us, but let's be honest. There's a few more people in China than in America. And they produced, last year alone, they produced more green energy than we have, period. They're the number one producer in the world of solar panels. And solar panels and green energy, whatever your feelings on oil are or green energy, the rest of the world, whether you believe in climate change or not, the rest of the world does. And this is just from a purely capitalistic point of view, a thing we need to watch. Empires fall because the world moves on, and the company, the thing that made that country great, they won't let it go. If we adhere to oil and insist on adhering to fossil fuels while the rest of the world moves on from it, we will be left behind, and China will take us over. Or will overtake us, not take us over, but overtake us as the number one economy in the world again. Like, it's only a matter of time. We need to understand the economics of green energy, not just the politics of it. Right now, the politics of it is making us blind to the economics of it. Most Korean and Vietnam War, during Korean. China is also godless, whatever that means. So they have less restrictions naturally when it comes to rapid AI developments. Based on what? And what do you mean we have to keep up with that with data centers? Dude, we're not keeping up with data. The problem with our data centers is we're not doing stuff. Why do you think nobody wants a data center in their backyard? Because they want to have electricity. They want to have drinking water. I have no idea where are you getting your news? Chevron? Michael Keaton had a great comedy about the whole thing, and a Japanese company opening up a car plant. I was thinking of that movie, and I couldn't think of the name of it, but I was thinking of that movie when I was talking about Japan. More BS slop for stupids. Whatever, Immortal. You just like to say things, don't you? I bet you were like the kid in class that would always raise your hand and give the wrong answer. Sounds like a drama. China isn't godless. If anything, have more gods than us due to Shintoism. They just make the chips so there's more influence to actually and benefit from making the centers for them. Yes. And if China is such a problem, why is Donald Trump giving away the sorry, it's been a bit since I looked at this, but the chips, there's a kind of chip that's best for the AIs, and we just shared technology in that's like really actually bad for our competitive future there. I think there are real issues with, I think AI is here to stay. I think that there's some good things about AI. I think there's some bad things about AI. And one thing that's interesting is here in Texas, AI could be the thing that tips the election for the Democrats, because the Republicans are really, really like pushing for completely unregulated AI. Like if there was another power outage, they would shut down residential homes before they would shut down the data centers. Like the data centers get priority over the people, which is one of the reasons. No, even in Texas, they don't want the data centers in their backyard. So like the lack of regulating data centers, that could be the kind of thing that pushes a lot of people. Like murdering innocent people seems to be like they're okay with that. But this is definitely in the, oh, well, if it's going to affect me, that's different. Modi might be worse than Trump. Only difference is Modi has a high IQ. Nope, they're largely atheistic and they outright ban the Bible in most provinces, Quran, etc. Have you ever been to China? What are you discussing? Is it about Trump or China? Well, Trump, we were talking about the speech last night, and then Trump going China, China, China. And then the comments kind of gradually led us into China and AI. Immortal, I was pulling your leg because it's inherently xenophobic to call anyone godless. You have a point, I can agree. China is not as bad on religion as it used to be. I can look this up if you want. Okay. Are Bibles... Hang on, are Bibles legal in China? Okay, according to chat, it says yes, but with important restrictions. In mainland China, owning a Bible is legal for most people. Millions of Chinese Christians own Bibles. Printing and distribution are tightly controlled by the government. Officially approved Bibles are printed through state-authorized channels and are greatly distributed through government-approved Protestant churches. The reason that I know this is because I spent 15 years as a minister and I spent time with people from China that were Christians. You typically cannot buy a Bible from major online retailers in China, and they're not commonly sold in ordinary bookstores as they are in many other countries. You have to get them from like special bookstores, and they definitely regulate churches. Like there's only certain churches that can operate, and it's more regulated, but it's not godless. They don't have the anti-God stuff. It's not as hardline communist as it used to be. Importing a Bible for personal use is generally allowed in small quantities, but bringing in large numbers can lead to confiscation if authorities believe they're intended for distribution, which is true. We would bring Bibles there, and that we'd have to like spread them out among different people so that we wouldn't, like the people that were bringing him in wouldn't get busted for smuggling or something. Unauthorized printing or distribution of Bibles, especially by unregistered house churches, can result in legal trouble. The issue is usually not possession of the Bible, but unapproved religious activity. So that's the direction that Trump's going, by the way. Where it's like once you start regulating religion in any way, it just goes down to that line to where the state starts getting to tell you how to practice it. We didn't really believe in God in the first place. Trump is godless, and he's certainly not a Christian. I am Chinese. Oh, so with the we here. China is mostly atheistic. That's just a fact, though. Okay, let's see. Let's see what... I mean, like, we're getting that... Saying China is godless is a bit... 40 to 60% of Chinese adults describe themselves as having no religion. 10 to 20% explicitly identify as atheists. Not having a religion and being godless are kind of... Maybe, you can say they're the same, but it's certainly a... One is a... The framing of it is the framing of somebody that thinks that their God story is the one that matters. Like if you just wanted to say that, half of China is non-religious, I would say yes. Saying China is godless means that God is not, like, if there is a God, that they've rejected God or something. They have a lot of like it's anyway. In that sense, you know, the Republican Party is godless. They have a lot of alive ritual culture despite being atheistic. Shrines still being visited even by ancestors. Yes, they have like the ones that are don't have a religion. There's still spirituality among them. Most of it is just a formality, which has become a common practice of life rather than a belief. Kind of like MAGA Christianity. Indeed, many people believe in God, but it's because it's a business, because he wants the money from those believers. Kind of like MAGA. I'm an atheist too. Ritual is extremely important to everyone's lives, even with no gods. Just like Buddhists in Xizang and some Muslims in the Northwest, they all have to give money to the monks of the so-called temples or some leaders in the mosque. Yeah, that's a common thing in all religions. Cash transactions. Tangent, sorry about that. I can tell why they actually banned the Bible. But I'd probably get banned from... No, I'm not going to get your banned. I'm not going to ban somebody from the chat for that. Not an atheist personally. I just left church. Interfered with NASCAR too much. I was... So you know your priorities are, Walter. I was locked in what the Buddhist temple leader drama was doing a few months ago. In Afghanistan. I don't know what Afghanistan. That was horrible. Can't believe they removed. I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's anytime people start trying to impose their religious beliefs or their anti-religious beliefs, people end up getting killed. People act like, oh, you know, Christians, you know, like that, like religion killed all these people. So did so did atheism, mandated atheism. Mao killed a bunch of people for believing in God. Stalin killed a bunch of people for believing in God. People in Europe have killed each other for being Protestant and for being Catholic. You got a long history of atheists and Christians and communists. And, you know, like, did you know here, what is the rebellion? It's yeah, the Taiping Rebellion. Have you ever heard of the Taiping Rebellion? I bet Immortals heard of it. But the Taiping Rebellion in China, did you know this? I bet it's amazing how much history they don't actually teach in America because it doesn't affect us. What is the second in terms of the whole history of the entire world? What war has the most killings, has had the most deaths after World War II? I bet you're thinking World War I, and I bet you're wrong. It's the Taiping Rebellion. There was this Chinese guy that named Huang Shi Huan, claimed he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ and founded the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. His beliefs departed significantly from Christianity. The Taiping Rebellion was the deadliest war, one of the deadliest wars in history, killing an estimated 20 to 30 million. Most of those were not targeted because they were Christians. They died in a massive civil war between the Taiping forces and the Qing dynasty. Did you know about that? Anyway, like, people died. A lot of people died in the name of religion. The great thing about oversup. Oh, so bro, I missed the testosterone speech. That's got to be comedy gold. It was. You know how there's all these things like there's the I don't know if you've seen the Marsha Blackburn commercial where she's like crushing the fortune cookies. And I swear to you, I am not joking. The first time I saw that, I didn't realize it was an actual real commercial, and I thought it was an SNL skit. And I was going to mention how hilarious it is. I was like, this is perfect parody because I could see her actually doing this. And then I found out that it was real. It is no longer Onion doing the parody. They're just parodying themselves now. And that was this the Hegseth speech was like that. It was just they don't even remember when Sarah Palin was vice president and running for vice president, and Tina Fey would do these impersonations of Sarah Palin, and like she wouldn't even change actual things that Sarah Palin said. She would just come and say the exact same thing. But when she was doing it as parody, it was funny. That's what the Pete Hegseth thing was. They could do an SNL skit word for word what Pete Hegseth said, and it would be one of the best skits in the history of SNL. The great thing about over supplementing with testosterone is the male body counteracts it with estrogen. So when they age, they grow female features and breasts. Check in 10 years. That's funny. I know that they got really triggered because it's technically classified as gender affirming care. The testosterone supplements is considered gender affirming care. They will end up looking like Greg Bovino, a lesbian grandma. Greg, a short lesbian grandma. Trump quenches his thirst with the lib tears. Does he really? Do you really think he does? Do you think that we're sitting there crying and then he's drinking our tears? Is that really what you want from the president of the United States? To sit there and enjoy the misery of the people whom he imposes it on? Is that your argument for why he's such a great president? It's interesting that all the MAGA arguments about why he's a great president ends up just becoming he offends people, and that's what makes him great. You quench your thirst on a pumpkin spice shaft gravy. Oh. Trump got 150 to 160 days max left. President bans before Christmas. So what do you guys think? Is that right? Do you think who thinks that Donald Trump will finish out this term? Will he make it? And forget about 2028. Will he make it to January 19th, 2028? Will he be president then? Or will J.D. Vance be president? Or will it be somebody else? Will it be Mike Johnson? Or maybe. Here's a thought for you. You're not going to like it. Hakeem Jeffries. What do you think of that? President Jeffries. If Trump and Vance got impeached together, and I would imagine that would mean that the Democrats won the House, because I don't think that Mike Johnson is going to try and impeach him. So then Jeffries would be the speaker, and then he would be next in line. What do you guys think of President Jeffries? Or and in a more serious note, what about 2028? Who do you want to see? I've been really impressed with Ossoff lately. He's such a clean speaker. Like he riffs like perfect speeches. he riffs things like he's reading off the teleprompter. In Trump's defense, I think he had to find a new teleprompter guy. Yeah, they had to hire a new guy. Talking of movies, have you seen that TV channels are editing out Trump's bit in Home Alone 2? They were doing that before. I think it's, they've always cut out stuff before commercials. And I think that was in Canada or something. Anyway, I know they were doing that since like 2016, and Trump made a big stink about it. What do you got? So this was another thing that happened last night is Donald Trump got very, very angry that a couple of the networks didn't want to broadcast his Liathon live. And so he threatened NBC and ABC is going to take away their broadcast license for not carrying them, for not broadcasting his speech. Which, by the way, there was no equal time. So according to their own precedent, if they're going to say that they're going to take it away for Kimmel not giving equal time, then where was the equal time? Anyway. Oh, sorry, didn't get much sleep last night. What do you think? The drones. Everything Trump accuses others of is a confession to what he's done. Right. I agree. China. All right. So what's interesting in all of the driver's license and ID, there's a gold star in the upper right, and that star indicates that you showed birth certificate and social security card. All right. I don't know if that's true in every state. I don't know if that's true. I'll look it up. It's almost like the yellow star of David that Adolf forced. Okay, hang on. Let me look this up. No, the star does not specifically indicate that you showed a birth certificate. That star simply means your license or real your license or ID is real ID and compliant. To get a real ID, the state must verify several things, including your identity, your date of birth, your social security number or lawful exemption, your address, your lawful presence in the U.S. So you can have just want to clarify this. Asking a real ID, you can have a yellow star and not be a citizen. So that is not true. Sorry, John. Almost like the yellow star of David that Adolf forced prisoners to wear during the 1940s. Ooh, you have to opt in, pay more money for the gold star. No, that's a different. Okay, so there is a type of ID that you can get in 5 states, and I think they're Vermont, New York, Minnesota, Washington, and Minnesota, and they all border Canada. And they're specifically for people that go back and forth over Canada a lot. Those are the 5 states that have a citizen on the ID. And that for those, you can show that ID when you register to prove your citizenship. But in order to get that ID, you have to have your birth certificate. So it's somewhat of a it's begging the question. Like, that, the passports, everything, all the other IDs, there's a kind of military ID that says you're a citizen, and there's one other kind of ID, I think, and then there's your naturalization certificate if you were immigrated here. But if you were born here, there are those 5 types of ID, but 4 of them require the birth certificate, and the other one is the birth certificate. So you basically you need a birth certificate to vote. Trump creates boogeymen to keep his base occupied, so they don't believe truth with facts. Yes, that's been the case in U.S. politics since time immemorial. Since I've been growing up, it was USSR, it was Japan, then it was the Muslims and the terrorists. Now it's China and the communists, with a dash of Muslims. China's focused on itself, and it mostly worked. China is actually relaxing its grip on their people while America tightens its grip. Ironic, isn't it? Yeah, we are becoming less free. There's a freedom index by country, and so so I'll share my screen with you. I hope. I'm going to try this. Never seems to go the way I wanted it to, but all right. Someday I'll figure out how to do this in a way that's not messed up. Where is trying to figure out how to arrange this? All right. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to put this on. Wait, does that work? I'm sorry if you're on the profile and you can't see the whole thing. But yeah, this is a freedom index, right? And this is the most free countries in the world. If you're on the profile screen, you can't see the list, I don't think. But like Iceland is the freest country in the world. Like they have the best freedoms. The greener it is, the more freedom you have. And then it's like you can't see the scale probably if you're on the profile, but red is the less peaceful, white is the most peaceful, or black, the dark green is the most peaceful. So Iceland is the freest country in the world, and then we are okay, let me hear. We are way down here. So if you're watching, you see how far down you go. Liberia's at 2.024, and you keep going, and you get like Cuba, 2.139, and you go down and you go down and you go down. And this is I think the peaceful index, right? You go down, and here we are, United States of America, 134th. Deaths from global conflict increased by 96% to 238,000. This is from 2023. And we're obviously getting worse. And then you get, this is another index. This one, United States, is 8.71. And this one is like higher. This one, we're not as bad. We're way down here, some right between. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This one is based on freedom, the Human Freedom Index from Cato. They have like different ways of measuring it. There's this one. Oh, here. So Global, so Global Freedom Index is 83. This one, so we don't actually. So here we're like way down. We're way down here. So there's all these different ways of doing it, right? And we are somewhere between the middle and the bottom in most ways of looking at it. We're barely in the top 20. I think we're in the top 20 in one. I think our highest rank is like 17th. We talk about America as being like the land of the free and the home of the brave. Well, we're actually the land of the not very free and the home of the cowards. If we're being honest. And I'm being honest here. All right, so let's go back to the chat. So, all right, we're hit where my chat is. Okay, here we go. My chat froze. I don't know what's going on. Okay, here we go. What do you, China focused on itself and it mostly worked. Okay. If you have opinions about Trump, ordinary people are all the same. In our country, there is also promotion of hate, education towards the United States and Japan. It's the same no matter which country it is. It seems like United States is our enemy, and you have portrayed China as the enemy of the United States. I don't think of China as the enemy of the United States, but I do think that Donald Trump presents that. I think we should actually. China does a lot of super cool stuff. You're living in China? Like the way in China, you can like order food by drone. Like they'll do like instead of DoorDash, they do like Drone Dash, and they'll carry the food to a. All you have to do is just pin your location, and a drone, like you can be in the middle of a park, and the drone will just like fly your food and then drop it right to you. I mean, that's cool, right? In China, they have flying cars now. Did you know that they have flying cars in China? What do you think? Like that's some Jetson style nonsense. And then you got I've talked about this before, the battery swaps for electric vehicles. China is way ahead of us in a lot of ways when it comes to 5G and AI and what, not just the data centers, but what they're doing with AI. They're using AI. This is why I say that AI is not as simple as people think it is. Like it's not anti-environment as people think it is if it's done right. The best thing to work against climate change can be AI. They've used 5G and AI together to monitor traffic flow. Like the cars have 5G in them, and the traffic lights have 5G in them, and then the communication between the cars and the traffic lights to adjust the traffic lights for the actual flow of traffic so that it flows better. And they've cut, like in Taiwan, they've cut down traffic congestion like 20%, which when you consider how much that helps with pollution and whatnot, it's actually ends up having a benefit on climate change. What do you think we're teaching here in the United States? Everyone is the boogeyman, apparently. Okay, I'm going to ask you every day to please follow Election Truth Alliance. They are doing deep research into the 2024 elections. You can't dispute the facts. I can look at it. I don't think you can dispute facts, but I think that you can present facts in a way that's true or not true, or that leads to truth or not truth. You can cherry pick facts to make things look like they mean something they don't mean. I'll give you an example. Like there's this county in New York. I want to say New York. There was a precinct where the Democrat won the House seat, but Donald Trump won the presidential election, like got literally every single vote. And so people were like, oh, that's, that just doesn't make sense. That proves that it was hacked or rigged. And there's a couple of problems with it just on the surface of it that made me think, well, I'm not sure it does. One, why are you going to be worrying about rigging a random county in New York? Like there's 0% chance Donald Trump was going to win the state of New York. So you're not going to need to go and hack one precinct in New York. And there's a particular type of Jewish community that lives there, and every time they always vote exactly according to how their rabbi votes for the president, just for president, not for everything else. Rabbi says who to vote for president, and they all do that. And like Joe Biden didn't get any votes either. They usually it's normal for that precinct to vote all for one person. So cut and paste or slow down. China first in solar, wind, coal, hydro, second in nuclear, US first, oil, gas. Yeah. Actually, I think it's great to carry out this kind of hate education for ordinary people. Ordinary people do not possess the ability to distinguish between different things, and hatred is actually the simplest emotion. Actually, we all know what's going on. I hope you don't think I'm promoting hatred. I promote people just find facts. AI is going to take over soon, and someone will be able to shut it completely down. I've got this idea for a book that I may or may not ever write, but I kind of like the idea of like AI going somewhere where we actually are, like have it embedded in our head, and then we can communicate. Like we don't have to write an email like with it. We don't have to type it out. We just think it out, and then we could like send and receive emails like entirely in our brain. Like they don't have to. You don't even need a screen. You could just kind of communicate with each other to the point where it almost becomes telepathic, and we don't necessarily get a hive mind, but we get a kind of a way where we can communicate universally. Like imagine somebody's on a trial, right? And you could like just pipe straight into his brain and know exactly what they were thinking and feeling when they encountered something. You know exactly what happened, right? You don't have to guess or anything. You know if they were really in fear for their life when they shot the black guy, or if they were just thinking about, racial hate, like this dude that killed the guy in Maine. Anyway, I'm like thinking of this book for. I've got a general plot outline, but a kind of an idea where AI, we have a utopian future with AI. Of course, it gets priority. AI is a top-tier military weapon. Michael Keaton movie, by the way. Gung Ho, yes, that's it. From 1986. Michael Keaton and Tom Hanks, they did some prime comedy in the 80s. You don't think of them as comic actors now, but they were both really good comedians. In the 1970s, China spread out, allowing its people to own money. Different religions and capitalism, that's how they're thriving. Yes. Correct. China had the Moonies cult still. Did they originate in China, or was it just a Chinese person in America? I'm not correcting. I'm actually asking. Hey, Kelly, the way you have the text displaying totally messing up the display on the smartphones. It's text overlaid with the group chat. It's a hot mess. Can you fix it? I cannot fix it. Brett's talked about this before, and I don't know how to fix it. I've tried. I'm sorry. I wish I knew. I don't know if Brett ever figured out how to resolve that. China is supposed to be blocked from the West's best chips, but China just makes their own in the West. Loses the Chinese market. Can you try the chat on the secondary channel? Deng Xiaoping in China is the person that changed them. He allowed farmers to keep crop for profit. And that in itself changed the views of a lot of things. There's technicalities about their freedom of religion because it's freedom from religion first in China, from what laws we're reading. Have you ever taken a religious poll? No, I haven't. All these polls, but no one has ever asked me that. A lot of people don't ever get polled. I'm 50. I'll be 59 next month. I've only ever been polled for anything once in my life. Like, doesn't mean that polls don't exist. It just means that your chances of being polled. They poll somebody and it's got 2,000 people out of 300 million. So your chances of getting polled in any one poll are almost nil. And even then, they only poll certain areas because they're trying to get a demographic. I was entirely wrong, but godless does sound super derogatory, right? That's thanks for understanding that I wasn't trying to attack you. I was just the smartphone view is terrible. The way the text overlays is impossible to read. I wish I knew the solution to that. So what I'll try and do is I'll just try and present it on there, and then I'll take it off when I talk about it. Hopefully that, at least then you can still read it when it's. I wish I could do it. I'm not. I'm stuck with YouTube. Wonder, does this help? Let me know if that helps. If I don't know if that affects your view or not. I don't know how to move it to the top of the screen. Like, I don't have an option where to put the text here. Unless, I don't know. Does this help? Does that help? I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. If that helps. It looks the same. Okay, then I won't do that. All right. Because I'll see if I can, after the show today, I'll try and do a search on it and see if I can figure out how to fix that for the next stream, which, by the way, will be Monday. And actually, I have to end a little bit early today. I'm going to end at 4 o'clock today, or top of the hour. Oh, Harry. Oh, thank goodness. Harry, you're back. Thank you for the gold coin, Jules. I was like, because I remember you. What is going on? Okay. Oh, so it doesn't show that. All right. I can't. It won't show that up. So Harry sent me some jewels because he's a nice guy, and I really appreciate that. I was worried I offended you or something because you kind of ducked out the other day, and I was like, did I say something? And so I'm glad to see we really wanted you here yesterday. Brett was getting swamped by trolls. Anyway, good to see you. Go England. Oh wait, no, England lost. I'm sorry. Maybe you were in mourning. Maybe that's why. So I guess it's going to be Spain versus um Argentina. Oh, then like the thing about the two, like Ronaldo and the guy that he was holding when he was a baby, that are the two big superstars right now of the each team. That kind of made me think of Bill Clinton when he was a teenager meeting John F. Kennedy. We got Trump highlights illicit Democratic aligned Michigan voter registration group in Thursday address, but several more similar leftist groups are operating. Yes. You mean the ones that were prosecuted because the system works the way it's supposed to? The one that the Democrat district attorney prosecuted? And by the way, filling out fake registration forms does not mean that, votes get counted. The thinking skills of a MAGA. The most useless thing in the world is the brain upon which resides a MAGA cap. Trump highlight. Okay, yeah. I say Trump strokes out at the end of August. Yes, you are a loser. I'm sorry. The return of Harry, not a Florida, but when wow, getting all kinds of jewels and gold coins. Wow, feel like I'm spoiled. And thank goodness the bots are starting to come in. I know I was starting to feel a bit lonely, and now we've got. Harry. I've made Dusty and Walter are also now mods, and then Brett's here and you're here. So hopefully none of you gets too overwhelmed by the bots and the trolls. You can share the responsibilities. MAGA always shine a light in themselves with their use of propaganda, not a light inside their brains. It's part of the real ID. It's part of the real ID, but it doesn't mean that, like, you can have a real ID and not be a citizen. That's something that's really important, because a lot of people think that real ID is all you need to go register to vote. You don't. You need more than that. You can have a real ID and not have a birth certificate. You need to have a birth certificate to register to vote, or a document that you needed a birth certificate to get, which is my issue with it, because a lot of people don't have birth certificates. Many stations wouldn't air Biden or Obama speeches at times because it was too political. I don't see why Trump is crashing out like a toddler. Because he thought he was giving this great speech and everybody was going to listen to it and be wowed into realizing that the elections were stolen. And even Fox News wouldn't back him up. Even Fox News was like, we can't verify this. Trump just lies in his speeches. I was saying, I've been joking all day long that they found out that the source for the whatever that disease is, the bacteria that's causing all the diarrhea comes from lettuce and Taco Bell, right? So Taco Bell causes explosive diarrhea. Like, who could have seen that coming? Like, nobody would have ever thought that Taco Bell could cause explosive diarrhea. And so now we know Taco Bell is causing explosive diarrhea. And that is not the least surprising news of the day. The least surprising news of the day is that Donald Trump lied again. Like, it is more predictable than Taco Bell causing explosive diarrhea. Presidential addresses should only be on the public airways for special news and events, not rally slop. Right. And that's actually a really good point. I like that. It should be like, you shouldn't be able to run campaign speeches using the public airways as president. That's actually really, really bad precedent. And I don't care who the president is. And a lot of people don't understand this. So I'm just going to talk about this for a few minutes. And people on both sides miss this. There's two aspects to free speech, right? There is the free speech that you can say what you want to say. The other part of that is something called compelled speech. And compelled speech is perhaps even stronger than free speech. So let me give you an example of the difference between free speech and compelled speech. Let's say that your boss wants to, like you work at a private business, and your boss wants you to say, I don't want to lose clients because of political affiliations. So nobody can put campaign bumper stickers on their car. I don't want you rolling up somewhere and having a bumper sticker on your car that loses me business. So no bumper stickers on your cars. So they can put that policy. Like, you have the free speech to advocate for your candidate, but it's his business, right? So he doesn't want his business to say that. So he can say, on your private cars, you can do that, but if you're using that car for work, I don't want any bumper stickers on it. No Trump bumper sticker, no Harris bumper sticker. That's free speech, right? You can say what you want to say, but there can be, like, your boss can restrict it if it affects his business. Another example of free speech is like being able to protest and their usual things. But in this context, for this contrast, I want to use this specifically. The compelled speech, where what your boss can't do is tell you have to have a Harris bumper sticker or have to have a Trump bumper sticker. He can say, I don't want you to say this on the job, but he can't say you have to say this on the job. That's compelled speech. You can't make people say something they don't believe. Another example of compelled speech is one of the big court cases on this. There's two court cases that come to mind. There was a pro-life group that wanted to hand out flyers in the mall. And so they went to this printer, and the printer said, I don't want to print these because I don't agree with this message. And he was like a pro-choice person. And they sued him and they won. Or they lost. He won. Because that's compelled speech, like making him print those flyers. The other example of this is the gay wedding cakes, where the guy said, I'm a Christian. I don't believe in gay marriage. I don't want to make gay wedding cakes. I'll make you any other kind of cake. I'm not shutting you down because because you're not Christian. Like, you're free to buy any cake in here. I'll make any cake for you, but I won't make a wedding cake because I don't believe in gay marriage. And in both of those cases, whether it was the left side or the right side that you're on, it was compelled speech. You can't make somebody say something that they don't want to say. And you can't make somebody platform lies that they don't want to convey. And you can't make Twitter carry lies that they don't want to convey. Compelled speech is a huge part of the whole free speech argument, and it's one which has been lost a lot on the right. The right wants to say that free speech means you can say whatever you want to say, and you can say whatever you want to say. But another aspect of free speech is nobody has to platform that. Their freedom of speech gets into compelled speech. So they don't have to platform your lies. They have the freedom to say, no, we're not going to platform this. So anyway, that's what Donald Trump is trying to do. He is trying to compel speech from NBC and ABC by saying, I'm going to take away your broadcast license because you did not platform my lies. That's a First Amendment violation. Did Trump even cover Iran during his TV address? He did not. Didn't say one peep about it. And oh, by the way, did you notice that the price of oil, price of gas is going back up, and the price of oil is going back up? Because crazy enough, the Iran war didn't end the way that we thought it was. The MOU was like, oh, I mean, who could have done that? Rick says, what are you doing with this map? I wish I could have told you. I need to figure out how to use this whole system better. I'm sorry. I'm a one-man amateur operation. I was trying to show the map on the screen and it wasn't working right. So apologies. But I was just trying to show like the colors on the map and stuff. National Lampoon's Vacation. We can use another one. I've heard of that movie, but I've never seen it. Someday I got to get to it. The U.S. has created its enemies. We have to expect. Oh, wait, what time is it? Oh. The U.S. has created its enemies. We have to expect retaliation one day. Trump is making it worse, so we're much more vulnerable. We really are headed for a really, really bad situation. I really believe in the near future we will end up like the movie with Kristen Dunst, Civil War. I'm hoping it, but it seems like it will be, by the way. I cannot stop thinking about how Mike Johnson said that Donald Trump asked for $350 million in part to stop communism within our shores. And this is while Donald Trump is running around calling the Democratic Party communists. And this is in the defense budget. So how far away is he from having the U.S. military attack Democrats? It's not like it's hard to connect these dots. When he's asking for $350 million to stop communists within our shores, and he is calling Democrats communists. And he's sitting there wanting to get our voting rolls so he can tell you who the Democrats and who the Republicans are. How long? How long? You guys want, like, people act like we're crazy for thinking he's fascist. Well, you're crazy for thinking he's not. I remember, you know, like all these people that were sitting there, you know, even if I disagree with you, I'll fight to the death. You're right to say it. Well, where the hell are you now? Why do you think he's building a new bunker under the ballroom? I agree. I agree. Yeah, there's already a bunker, like a bomb bunker for nuclear bombs under the warehouse, under the White House. But is he planning on holding himself up once January 21st, 2028 rolls or 2029 rolls around? All right, so I'm just scrolling through. I'm way behind on the comments again, and I actually got to get going a bit early today. Well, I've got a lot of people online right now. I don't think it's that they have money. It's they're putting their life savings into a game. Soccer fans must have a lot of money. Tickets for Sunday final between Argentina and Spain. Yeah, one of the things I'm not a soccer fan, but I've been looking a little bit at the politics of it. FIFA has kind of, it used to be like it was actually really cheap. That's one of the things about it that was cool, is soccer has always been like an everyman sport, and you could go and you could watch a world game without spending your life savings. And with this new FIFA guy that's, you know, part of the whole Epstein class, he's made it so that only rich people can go to the World Cup. It's sad. I don't think it's that they have money. It's that they're putting their life savings into a game. China is using a large amounts of solar, ARMA wind energy. They are cutting down on pollution. Yeah, and they are. China is. They're still the world leader in in pollution. Don't get me wrong, but they are really doing something about it. They are they are really taking climate change a lot more seriously than we are. But I certainly don't dress well when they show up. Election Truth Alliance passes the check. I'll take a look at it. Oh my goodness, I'm an hour behind. Well, now I'm 20 minutes behind. You mean the talking computer from 2001? How? Oh, here's something. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, Walter. This seems like the kind of thing that you would. So take HAL and add one letter onto each thing. So like H, the next letter would be I. A, the next letter would be B. L, the next letter would be M. So a lot of people kind of speculate that, and back then IBM was like the computer people, like that was the whole computer thing. So a lot of people actually think that HAL was IBM. Brett has to go. He's out. I'm actually pretty close to where I have to check out too. I got I used to actually be paid by Nielsen back in the days when it was like broadcast TV. You put a box on your TV and you just watch TV, and then they sent you money. If you can't put the effort to get one document, but dude, this is such a lazy, irresponsible response. Like, if you can't put in the effort to figuring out what the real issue is, then you shouldn't be telling people who can vote. There are literally millions of Americans who don't have a birth certificate to access. You cannot get what is there. Some people were never issued a birth certificate. Some people, the birth certificate that they were issued was destroyed. So there's no original to obtain. If you're too lazy to figure that out, then you shouldn't be voting at all, because I think you're probably too lazy to even figure out what anything you're voting for is. I think that they should just have a one question exam, and it's less like, does everybody have a birth certificate? And if you say yes, then you lose your right to vote, because you're willing to take away everybody who doesn't's right to vote. How's that sound? Maybe you shouldn't vote. Thank you, Walter. Now I really love you, my boy. Taco Bell and KFC just agreed to sell lab printed food. Oh my goodness. I don't know if that's true or parody or trarity, where it's like truth that sounds like parody. Widespread election fraud isn't important news. The only widespread election fraud is Donald Trump's election fraud. It's not important news because it's not true. Okay. I didn't hear any election fraud last night. He didn't give any reason why the law is necessary. And the things he made up wouldn't, like the SAVE Act wouldn't have stopped any of it. That's the beauty of it. Like, none of it would have even been prevented by the SAVE Act. And I know that, some of you weren't here when I went over it, but basically he did three things. One, he did China, China, China. And basically if you look at the actual details, what China did was buy publicly available information online that you could get or I can get. There's nothing China did that's actually really concerning. It's nothing compared to what Russia did in 2016 or what Russia did in 2020. Russia also interfered in the 2020 election, but you won't hear Donald Trump talk about that. The made up 100 or 280,000 non-citizen registered voters is just, there were 95,000 potential non-registered vote or non-citizen voters in Texas. You know how many of those ended up getting prosecuted? 0, because they were all ended up being bogus. This is what Republicans do. They come up with this big fake headline number that makes you think that we're just teeming with non-citizens voting and illegal immigrants voting, and then none of them are actually end up being valid. All those people end up being either people A, who just had the same name as somebody that's a non-citizen, or B, were naturalized in the process of being naturalized, and were naturalized when they voted. They were citizens when they voted. Man, if MAGA ever learned to read, America would actually be great again. Compelled speech is what's happening to children in school. You mean like when they're forced to read the Bible? That one, huh? Can we be fair to say that when Biden was in office, his administration censored the right? No. No, that wouldn't be fair, because it didn't happen. Joe Biden did not censor the right. Joe Biden never threatened to take away broadcast licenses. Joe Biden never tried to get people fired for saying jokes that he didn't like. So no, if you want to be fair, don't say stuff that isn't true just to make it okay that Trump does it. Nobody's compelling anybody to wave flags. But people should have the freedom to. Another lunatic lefty brother, you need to go see a psychologist for your Trump derangement. Oh, yeah, the Trump derangement syndrome. Iran's finished. How much was gas under? Iran's not finished. They're actually right now, they're fighting right now, and the price of gas is going up. Under Obama, a lot lower than it is now. Inflation under Biden had nothing at all to do with what Biden was doing. Again, just coming up with all the talking points that have already been, just slapped down over and over again. But does any of that change the fact that Donald Trump lied last night? Does any of that make Trump any better? The reason you guys have to talk about Biden is because you can't talk about what Trump is actually doing. You can't actually engage in a real conversation, an honest conversation. Because if you do, then some real thoughts might penetrate your MAGA hats, your little MAGA shields, and start making you think. It's already for ill. Anyway, as much as COVID, giving states the choice on whether to shut down or not during COVID, giving state choice in abortion, and abiding by SCOTUS rulings is fascist. No, that's not fascist. What's fascist is prosecuting people for disagreeing with you, and for taking away broadcast license because they didn't platform your speech. Fascist is building concentration camps. Fascist is outlawing being transgender. No. The fascist things are not the things that you're thinking of. They're the things that he's actually doing. I'm sorry that you can't have an honest conversation there, Chewbacca. But that's maybe because you're not an honest person. China also hacked. No, China did not hack anybody. They didn't steal millions of voter files. They bought voter files legally online that you could buy. And they didn't whatever they're doing with ethnic minorities over there has nothing to do with our elections. And nobody's saying, let's be like China. Again, you are a dishonest person. I want you to go and I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go and I want you to apologize to your mother for humiliating her on a live stream today by telling everybody in the world that she raised a son that's a liar. All right. Can buy voter data. You don't have to steal it or hack for it. The states will sell it to you. China did not change votes, and neither did any other country. like he used the fact that Maduro changed votes in Venezuela to prove that votes were changed in the United States election. I don't know if you know this, but Venezuela and the United States are actually not the same country. All right. Anyway, I have to go. I'm actually a little bit over. I hope everybody has a lovely weekend, even the MAGAs among us, because I don't hate you. I just don't like you. I'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great